Alright, chat. So this could go wrong. This is probably not a good idea. But we will do a review of Jayne's review. Because everyone's asking about it. So, we'll do a review of the review. Alright. I know, I've already seen this 2 or 3 times, so. Yep. Alright. Let's see.
For Jayne. And I'll be honest though, Sergeant God, to be fair, he's been on the Zarya, and Zarya is a DP.
So, yeah, coming into this, Kephrii played in game 1 here. He won game 1, and then he didn't play in game 2 or game 3. So the game he was out for, Global Esports Pantheon, actually managed to lose, and then he came back in for map 4 here on Dorado.
PS position.
That is correct.
Season when you are playing Goats, and Kephrii is going to be back in with the Widowmaker as expected.
None of the matches I'm going to be reviewing today actually involve Goats. As
he says while the entire enemy team is on Goats
at the semi-pro level. So if you're
I know
tired
he
of
meant
watching Goats Overwatch,
our team wasn't
come
Goats,
to the right
but still.
place. Come to the right place.
And last season when Sergeant was on Xavier, he was technically DPS as well. So here we go on this first defense here.
You ready
Orders.
to some,
So what's really interesting to me is kind of like how Kephrii plays. Is that I watched this game. I watched this game live, and one of the interesting things is kind of like looking at Kephrii, who is primarily a solo queue player, and how he plays differently from like Overwatch League level Widowmakers. And one of the main differences you're going to kind of see in this clip of Kephrii kind of playing is that he plays really, really, really safe and kind of in strange positions sometimes, in where Kephrii has this kind of...
So to be fair, I have to play safe. It's fucking Goats. Like, the reason you don't run Widow into Goats is because Widow gets smacked. That's why you play Widow safe.
Tendency to put himself in locations and angles where he has really, really very, very tiny sight lines, little itty bitty gaps, and then he goes on his kind of like reactions, his flicking accuracy and flicking speed in order to like catch people as they go through like these tiny cracks.
Oh yeah, he's not wrong, chat. I do play safe, absolutely. He's not wrong in saying that. I definitely play safe.
And
there's a time and a place for it.
Overwatch League Widowmakers are usually much more aggressive so that they can threaten a much larger area. So this is going to be one of the main things.
And now and so he's right. Like, that is true. Overwatch League Widows, they threaten larger spaces. They take control more of the map and the sightlines. But that's also why Widow isn't in the meta. You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly why you don't play Widow in Goats. Like, that's why Goats took over. That's you can't do what Widow is supposed to do because Goats exists. So it's like, it's a little interesting. But yeah, he's not wrong. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a threat.
And then also, I'm not actually sure about the level of communication that happens on Kephrii's team, but again, at the highest of levels, scouting and keeping track of anybody kind of in the Widowmaker matchup is extremely important. So later on in this, somebody from Jayne Esports, it's Jingod, I believe.
Keep up the great work in Contenders,
tries to soft
Kephrii.
Widowmaker to
Love
duel
the
Kephrii,
content.
and it's also kind of really interesting to see how this level of Overwatch plays Widowmaker compared to how like the pros play it.
So yeah, so you touched on it for a split second there, the communication. There is no communication. I know how to say left, I know how to say right now, but in the moment, I don't really think I knew how to say anything. So most of this game was my 5 teammates communicating and me just doing my own thing, hoping that everything just kind of worked out.
Bell tower grabs. Well, the thing is, we have some very good Widows now that we've seen.
Also, water, by the way, on Global Esports here.
You're trolling? No, I'm dead ass. I don't know the language. I don't know any Korean, really.
Well, he's a very good Widow as well. He's going to try and prove that he's the best.
Water able to open up on that Pharaoh.
So like, I'm chilling here, so like, I'll do my own analysis at the same time as his analysis. This is gonna be some streamception, right? So I know they're on Goats. I'm waiting to see. Then why are you on Contenders? Because I'm good enough. Fuck you. I don't have to be able to speak the language to shit on kids. So now I'm trying to see where Goats is going, because like I don't know where they're going. I don't know what their plan is. Like I'm just waiting, right? So I'm just scouting.
More comfortable for him, Kephrii.
So Kephree's just chilling by fountain. This first shot from Kephrii is really good.
Oh, thank you. I love this
this
shot, by the way, because the casters, the first thing they say are, this shot's gonna be really hard. You know, this is where it's gonna be difficult, and then I just make them shut up.
Right now,
Is it this shot?
This opening-
So, like,
God
this
damn it,
angle
Jayne.
right here, the one that he's taking, is he likes angles like this. Move my mouse? Fine, I will. But he likes angles like this where he's got a lot of cover and he's got a little bit of retreat, but it gives him kind of worse sight lines off the...
So let me address that. This is a worse sight line, yes. Obviously, if I was on the arch, or if I was on top of the fountain, or if I was in a window, I have a larger visual, right? But this angle specifically limits the enemy's ability to see where I'm at and react to me and position accordingly. So by the time they see me, it's too late. If I'm in the wide open, you know where I'm at. A Widow in the wide open is a threat, but a known threat is much less dangerous than an unknown threat. If you can account for the Widowmaker, you can plan accordingly. If you can't account for the Widowmaker, you can't plan accordingly. It's a lot harder to deal with someone you don't see. So I play these little smaller angles so people can't really deal with me yet. But we'll go ahead and just keep it going.
The start.
push. The shield's going to be a bit of a problem.
Like-
There's T1 and the rest of Giant push through the archway. This is where it's difficult for... I think difficult, but he...
Did you see the Lucio? Like, it's shots like this that Kephrii makes.
There's
So the
T1
thing
and
is,
rest
that
of-
Lucio probably didn't see me. But if I was in a big sight line laying down shots, that Lucio probably would have never exposed himself.
Giant push through the archway. This is where it's
Bam.
difficult for... I say difficult, but he threads the needle.
Yeah, managed to find that one, and that's the danger of the Widowmaker. That's the threat that the Widowmaker has when holding down those sight lines.
So now here the
Sub-Zero
fight's
goes-
won. Instead of using the hook onto Fountain, I could have hooked and pushed even further up. And played more aggressive and laid down more damage. But I decided not to, because I figured, you know what? My team is going to clean this up. They don't need me there. So I'll just keep chilling back here. Like, it's just a waste of time to walk up there, to walk right back. I'm just going to hang out and let them just kind of clean up and do what they need to finish doing.
Goes down, actually very aggressive commit from Water. They can kind of afford to here. This
And
is
so that's what
really
happens. So Water just cleans it up.
unfortunate spot for Giant that ends up being almost a full team wipe.
Another thing that I found really, really interesting about this VOD is almost like universally or across all of the engagements, you'll see Water being insanely aggressive, whereas Kephrii likes to hold these super safe angles.
So in that scenario, you could say Water's super aggressive, but in reality, the fight was already won. Like, I took out that Lucio, we took out the cart pressure. That was all cleanup kills by Water. Not discrediting Water at all, right? And at all. Water's a fucking god. But that was just Water cleaning it up. Like, if you call cleaning someone up aggression, sure, but in reality, I know later in the VOD, Water is aggressive. Absolutely. I'm just saying, if we're analyzing what's happened thus far in the first minute, it hasn't happened yet. So in this scenario, that was just like a little cleanup fight. You know what I mean?
And it actually kind of doesn't work in the way that you want to, because Water is engaging quite frequently in places which forces Giant Esports to try and deal with Water, and that action alone prevents them from moving into the angles or fighting in areas in which Kephrii would want to be able to fight, like the angles that he's taking.
Yeah, and so I
there's
get what Jayne's saying. What he's saying is, hey, if the Pharaoh goes in and is laying down shit, then you need to be right there laying down shit with him. And I absolutely agree, 100%. The only reason I didn't go in there to lay down the shit with him was because the fight was already won. I don't need to go out there. I can just chill where I'm at. I'll let Water clean it up.
kind of a disconnect between Water and Kephrii in the areas that Water is fighting, and like Water being so aggressive, and Kephrii not getting as much value as
See, like right there, like my value's already made. The fight's already won. Later on, this comes more into play, but thus far, my value is already made. I already picked the Lucio. I already picked their speed. The fight was already won.
could. So he does hit shots, but he plays really, really safe. He doesn't really play in a baity style, and I would assume that this comes from like the lack of communication. But especially against a composition like they were playing originally
At
here,
least a delayed
which
actually very
so playing
aggressive
goats right off the start.
water.
Really, the only thing that you have to worry about in this situation is like a diva, but the diva is also going to be having to worry about the Pharah. So you don't have to kind of be playing as far back because you're not worried
and
about.
Now what he's saying is right. He's saying the only thing that can commit to me is the diva, unless the Lucio speeds into me and everything, right? So the only thing that's I don't know if he noticed though, this fight there was never a situation for me to play up yet. I don't know if you guys remember, but this fight started with me on the fountain. They're in the choke, right? I can't play up realistically. If I play up from the fountain to the choke, I'm on top of the diva, right? Like the fountain is the spot to the choke, right? Once we picked the Lucio, the fight was already won. It's already over. I haven't even had an opportunity to play forward yet to do what he's saying because that's it. Like it was already over. You know what I mean? But I think he is talking about the whole VOD instead of this fight, which I wish he didn't because that's context that the viewers don't already have, you know? And I wish he would just wait to say that for the context that goes with it. But yeah.
A staged dive. If you're on a high ground and you have an area in which you can retreat quite easily with your grapple, a lone diva is just going to force you away.
Absolutely.
But
Every
she
time.
can't take rid of or get rid of kind of Kephrii and Water.
And that's exactly why we did that, because the diva can't address both of us.
In time. So I would like to see more of like an aggressive positioning here from Kephrii.
So it's sad that he asked to have a more aggressive positioning for me because I didn't need it. You know what I mean? Like, they're in the choke, I'm at the fountain, I got the pick, the fight was over. Like, I didn't need to be more aggressive in this situation. So there's just, I guess why? You know, I guess there's no reason to. I get what he's saying, absolutely. In the future, there's no reason not to. But, like, right now, like, why?
Giving him a much larger area in which he could threaten.
They can kind of afford to here. This is a really unfortunate
Bench
spot
mob
for Jayne.
gifting a tier 1 sub to Lemon Cube.
no, I remember this.
Delayed one.
Look at this straight away.
Okay.
Side,
This isn't where he goes on a tangent. Okay.
They've seen this before. They don't want to lose to the Fire Widow again. And this is smart. Pichu even got to go. Oh, sorry, Mushroom.
Now, when Giant Esports swaps off of the full goats and onto the full dive here, and they are going like proper full dive here with Lucio and Zenyatta, they're not going with like an Ana of any sort. This is a pretty good deal here, and the fact that there's a Zenyatta that's an extremely diveable target. Kephrii is an extremely diveable target. Kephrii has a little bit more advantage with his ability to kind of use the grapple that will let him get away from Tracer.
I'm going to pause a little bit. I actually don't agree with them going full dive here. I'm not an Overwatch League pro, don't get me wrong. But I actually don't agree with them going full dive here, because there's only two targets they can't hit. My Zenyatta or me. And if I'm on the high ground doing my grapple shit, then they're never going to get me. So they might get my Zen, but like when they dive, Water and I are just gonna fuck them. They shouldn't have ran dive. That was like, I really don't think that was the play. I think the play that they should have done was like a 2-2, right? With like some hit scan to deal with Water and to deal with like Mercy. Honestly, a Widow probably would have been kind of nice here. I don't think dive was the comp. I think a Widowmaker was needed here. But then again, like I'm not a big pro guy, right? I'm a streamer that plays a lot of ranked, 1,200 hours of Widow, and then I'm in contenders now. So like, I don't know. I'm not the Overwatch League coach.
But not so much
I don't
get
think they
away
should have went
from
dive.
the Genji. The Genji can very easily chase the high ground here. But now Kephrii's positioning will make a lot more sense, and he is going to get pressured a lot harder. So this is either because Giant Esports wants to abuse Kephrii or wants to try and abuse the Zenyatta, which is going to be extremely difficult for them to stay alive against any sort of coordinated dive here.
Even going to go on to the Tracer. First time we're seeing Mushroom play a DPS.
Like our Pharah's in the wide open of their spawn. Like, switch to hit scan and kill our Pharah.
That I wanted to see on Busan, and they got to do it. It's a straight classic dive. Tracer Genji. I've not seen this for a long time, and surely I have missed it.
Full screen, please. We're going blind.
I do think we've seen Mushroom on Tracer.
So this is again, Water is advanced in front of the bell tower. Kephrii has taken a position on the arches, so we're once again seeing this like disconnect.
So I don't like that, right? I get a little defensive. It's not a disconnect, right? I'm on the tower because I have to be nowhere near the dive comp, right? I have to have a good buffer. Water is pushed forward because they have 0 hit scan capability and absolutely nothing to counter him and deal with him in a pocket mercy. So there's... Water is completely fine here. I'm where I need to be for when dive starts to do its job. If anything, you could say water's a little overextended, but realistically, there's no threat to water here. Water's completely safe. So it's not really a disconnect. It's more of just, we're filling the time and we're letting our Pharah just kind of take pop shots, you know?
Between how aggressive water is
Back
playing.
up a little bit.
This for a long time, and surely I've missed it.
Actually, I do think we've seen
How's
Mushroom
Korea
on
in
Tracer.
this
So
at
this
your
is
place?
again,
Are you learning
water
Korean
is
too?
advanced in front of the bell tower. Kephrii has taken a position on the arches, so we're once again seeing this like disconnect between how aggressive water is playing, how exposed it makes Medic, because if Medic is going to be getting the Harmony Orb in order to kind of keep him alive against tickle damage, he needs to be in some sort of sightline to backwall. But if backwall wants to be in sightline of Medic, and Medic wants to be where water is, then this is like a really kind of spread out and poorly set up positioning from Global.
I get what he's saying. Water being here puts Medic at risk. Medic being here puts backwall at risk. Water can easily get out. Medic can easily follow suit. I see what he's saying, though. I do see what he's saying.
Briefly, but more just as kind of a last-ditch contest.
So right here, what you guys don't know, right? So this Genji went over the wall. He triggered my my little trap, right? I took a little pop shot at him. He immediately backs down into this left room. I don't know how to tell my team this. I have no way to communicate with my team because I don't speak Korean. So I have 0 way to communicate this Genji's existence right here. So keep that in mind real quick.
Thing, or when they're out of ideas, so it'll be interesting to see how well they execute on this.
So now my team should know because he threw a fucking blade, right? At this point, I'm trying to tell my team to collapse on this Genji. It was impossible to tell them to collapse on the Genji. So, fuck. Right?
If this doesn't work, then surely...
So-
oh, fuck you with your so at the same time as me. Alright, you go first.
What's happening at this point is that Jayne'S has successfully basically taken the courtyard from water.
Yeah. So, and he's right? So the tanks are now in a position where they can get where they need to be to dive me, right? So in order for Winston D.Va to connect with the Genji to dive me, right? In order for them to do that, they either have to come through the choke, go over the Mega, or go over here on the left. So the tanks got the left side, which is what they need to get to me now. Congrats. The Genji's in position at the mini. Fantastic. The reason that they have that, I would assume it's because my tanks right here are going to go deal with that Genji. I'm assuming that's the only reason these tanks got control here. That would be my assumption. I don't know why they would give this up unless it was to deal with that Genji. So let's see what happens.
And what they're going to be looking to do now is stage the dive.
Yeah, see, there's my D.Va going straight for that Genji. So they obviously caught on. I just headshot the Winston, and then
And
the
Kephrii
Winston
just
gets deleted.
deletes Tiawat with 2 headshots right back to back.
So if this doesn't work, then surely nothing will unless one of them wants to counter.
1 headshot.
But so far,
Second
they have
headshot.
So right here, I pop walls after killing this Winston, right? And Jayne is very critical of that, saying, well, hey, the fight's already won. I don't know why you popped walls. So you guys remember this Genji over here? Since I couldn't call out the Genji's location, I popped wall hacks instantly to let my entire team know, hey, there's a fucking Genji right here. And I can't tell you that. And if I can't tell you, then I will show you. So just keep in mind, there is a Genji right here.
one of the DPSs.
Doesn't matter, you killed the main tank, you win? No, you're an idiot. That's not true. You are never guaranteed to win a fight just because you got 1 pick. That is not a valid statement.
Kephrii finds them first.
And you know what? A good note of it is look how long this fight goes on.
Some ragdoll right there as he goes flying on forward, and this is a
Like
lot
even
of
with
pressure.
walls, we're just now getting the 2nd pick, and we're still it's still close.
Another thing.
Why'd you say the fight was won when you got the Lucio? Because that was their speed, Gazelle. They had no way out. This is dive comp. That was Goat's comp earlier. That's a different composition with a different pick.
actually kind of see in the difference between how Kephrii plays Widowmaker compared to how like a pro Overwatch League player will use Widowmaker is his sights. And Kephrii has a bit of a flair for using his infra sight. And that Overwatch League Widows use infra sights for two different reasons. They'll use their infra sight in order to either find out positioning, and by positioning, the time in which you're going to want to use it is going to be when the opponent is doing a rollout or a setup which you can't visually scout. So if an opponent has the option of like left main or right and you can't scout those for whatever reason, Infrasight gives you perfect intel about the opponent's rollout and their setup or their stage so that you know what their intention is. You can read that, you can rotate earlier or try and catch them in transitions. That's like a really, really good way of using Infrasight. The second way you want to use Infrasight is in order to assist with winning the duel against...
Joe Axel, thank you for the $100. Okay, so okay. Jayne made this mistake during his analysis. He acknowledged a shit ton of subs and notifications. I don't want to do that at the same time that Jayne goes on the tangent of fucking noticing things. I don't want to make the same mistake Jayne made. Thank you so much for the 100. I love and appreciate it. I will come back to this.
Opposing Widowmaker or against an opposing flanker is that if you know that you're being pressured and like a Genji or a Tracer sitting around a corner or something like that, is that what you want to be doing is ensuring that you can use that in order to win duels, like critical duels at the very start.
He's not wrong. Again, nothing he says about like the use of vision is wrong, right? After killing the tank, in theory, we should have won this fight, and I should not have needed walls. In theory. I can't communicate. I don't know what's going on. I don't know the status of my team. All I know is that there was a Genji on the left side that I didn't know how to communicate to my team, right? So I popped the walls as fast as I could so my team would find that Genji and just make sure this fight was won, just in case that Genji was going to give somebody.
Fights. And then the third use of Infrasight is going to be used to counteract the Infrasight of the opponent Widowmaker if that duel has been forced. Because if you activate it second, just like using Trance second, just like using Barrier second, your ultimate will last longer and you'll have that couple seconds of advantage afterwards. Okay, chat, chill. You're getting caged again. You made me bring out the R9K mode.
When do you hit play next?
Said guess my SR. Yeah, I'll get... Let me just turn notifications on. It's called practice. Back to it. So what I was talking about originally is that... so Kephrii has like a bit of a flair with the use of his Infrasight, in that after fights have kind of resolved, he uses it trying to kind of like chain kills or make things look flashy.
I don't really try to make things look flashy. That's not my goal. That's a little insulting, because it's like, I have 1,200 hours. You can make any narrative fit, but I don't just use my vision ultimate to look flashy. Like, there's a reason for it. Like, in this scenario, I specifically used it because there's a Genji right here and a Tracer right here, and I couldn't communicate it. So I popped walls so the team would know, like, you know, like, all right.
And I think this is a little bit of like the streamer in him, in that it seems like he uses it. So in this case, like, look at this activation of Infrasight.
So far,
so the immediate deletion of the Winston is really good, but then you can see that Infrasight was like activated immediately after that. But if you're looking at kind of like, where is the Genji? For example, the Genji is right here. That's a known entity, and this is the main threat. The Winston's jump is dead, so he's not in any immediate danger. The Infrasight is going to be something really useful for the next fight, because the Genji has the opportunity to be like using this flank. So if the opponent is setting up for the next fight, and Kephrii doesn't know what's going on, and for example, Sakura wants to know...
taking every minor criticism to heart? No, it's not that I'm taking it to heart. I agree with Jayne. The way that you're supposed to use Infrasight is that way. I just have a communication barrier. So the easiest way to communicate, right, is to show someone. That's a universal thing. If I don't know how to ask you for a drink, if I show you a drink, it's different. I don't know how to tell them where these people are. So instead of, vocally scouting for my team, I can just show them real quick. Like, hey, like, we need to do this. But no, his vision, like, his use of vision, like, this is, yes, every Widowmaker should know this. This is, especially at this rank, that's how you use vision, absolutely.
Oh, if he needs to be within boost range of Kephrii, or kind of like helping protect contest stairs and bridge, then if Kephrii activates sights at that point of time, it can give the team more information about how to set up for how Giants is trying to stage their dive. But
absolutely. And it usually delays like an extra 10 seconds.
A really bad decision.
With what he knew in this moment, I agree with his analysis that it was a bad decision. Giving my context, I don't agree that it was a bad decision.
Really bad decision. Guck Fotes.
Stop getting offended, dude. It's clear the calm thing. Jayne has nothing personal on you. Okay, hold on. Let me back this up. Maybe my tone's just not correct. I'm not offended at all. I'm not offended at all. And I know Jayne has nothing personal on me. You guys don't know, but I just did a 2-hour interview with Jayne last night that isn't public yet, and you guys don't even know it's coming. So I'm friends with Jayne. I'm just explaining to you guys the difference between what he could see and what he couldn't see behind the scenes. There was context here that he just didn't have. That's all.
I agree with you, Crackster. Thanks for the 2 months. Potato Boo, Athena, thanks, Dad. Selfish Nebula, Benchmob himself, returning for 8 months. Guy, 55. Shatner says, what do you call a demonic, democratic chat here? Seeing people in blood. Yes,
how long do you fucking talk? It's YouTube, Jayne! Edit it out!
That is another question that would be biased by scrims, so I'm not going to answer that one. I apologize. Are you allowed to communicate only between games? Okay, we're going to watch more of Kephrii. We're going to watch more of Kephrii here.
Are you? Okay, thank you.
PS's unless Kephrii finds them first.
Oh god, Monka S. Jayne, I am sorry for what's about
also, this is like a bug that was, I think, patched, by the way. You're supposed to be able to see enemies through your teammate when you have vision up, and I couldn't actually see the enemy through my own mercy.
Oh god, Monka S. Jayne, I am sorry for what's about to happen, but I'm going to sleep soon. Sorry for the disruption. Monka S?
That's some ragdoll right there.
That's the whole reason I didn't shoot that Zen, was because I couldn't see through my teammate. Sometimes Infrasight bugs out and you can't see through your team into enemies.
On forward, and this is a lot of pressure laid
so
down.
Some whiffs, some whiffs,
gonna go down.
Some whiffs.
I just have to flag a retreat.
I finally tag a tracer.
You see that Tino was kind of positioned.
So again, the fight's already won here. So Jayne's, so right here, I'm gonna jump to it. Right? Can someone ban Veggie Sticks 2 in the chat? I'm tired of like reading everything he says. So in this scenario, now Jayne, he wants me to push up with water, right? And I completely understand. I agree with that. So the reason that I haven't pushed up yet in this scenario is because I don't really know what's going on. Like, I know that the fight's won, but I don't really know if I'm needed, right? I don't think I would be able to help this fight, right? I have walls. So if we backed this up a little bit, the Tracer's disengaged. Look where they're at. Even if I pushed up,
he just knows how to play against
they're all going into this little room, right? I'm not going to be useful if I push up this way. So what Jayne actually doesn't see is that I do push up to help him and play aggressive. I just don't push up this direction because there's no value out of me pushing up this direction. And I'll show you in 2 seconds. So I'll show you here in a second. God damn it, Jayne. Jayne, what the fuck is this, man?
Back to the review that I'm supposedly
there's me. Right there. That's a mech that died and a diva jumping off the map. So I didn't push up because there was no value to be had in that direction. I had actually pushed over the wall and I was shooting underneath right here at the players that trickled in here to hide from water. So water was shooting them in main. They all fed into that small room and I went to the mega and was shooting them underneath. So I actually was pushed up with water and doing damage and being aggressive. Just he didn't see it. It was in a different direction.
Landing a really good hit.
Because there was no value out of me going over here. because that's not where the players were. They weren't visible. They were all over here in this little room.
Is Rocket's cleaning that player up, or vice versa? What
Well, no. And like I said, Jayne's analysis was great given the information he had. He just didn't have the context of, like, from me and my perspective. You know what I mean?
Damage or some rocket damage, and then Kephrii cleans it up with a nice.
So right here, ideally, Water would be telling me where everyone's going. I don't speak Korean.
DPSs, which both benefit from the damage.
Pincer, not spear aggression. You don't ever spear aggression with Pharah Widow. Never should you see Pharah and Widow parallel running in a straight line in the same direction. It should always be fucking crossfire. Just getting hit from all angles, making them worried, making them concerned. You don't want to shoot from the same side.
Of Bennett onto the Mercy, it's a very
so yeah.
powerful
So now he touches on this, and I'll let him say it, but he's absolutely correct.
duo.
And T-Watt dying twice before Jayne had even been able to reset. I mean,
So this is just another example, and you're going to be able to see these pretty consistently.
He's wrong at first, and then he's right. I just remembered what he said.
Throughout this. Like I said it once, but we got distracted, so I'm just going to kind of repeat it. And that Kephrii does like these smaller angles. This is a pretty good angle if you were playing, like, we've taken this specific angle for things like Ana and Zenyatta. Like, if Kephrii had been an Ana in this position and you had the Zenyatta, this can be like a really safe location to protect you from a dive. But the problem is that if you're a Widowmaker, it doesn't allow you to exert as much threat, and then the retreating position is not nearly as good. So if you're in this hallway, for example, the obvious retreat is being able to use your grapple onto the ground.
You're so bad, dude. I must spend
Yes,
$5
but no.
saying this. Trust
In
me.
this window, the
One
reason I'm in this
viewer
window
registered
is because they're staging a dive.
1738.
I don't have a teammate that can tell me this. That means I have to find out. I have my mine on the wall to alert me if Genji comes over. If Genji triggers this mine, and the Winston and Diva, right, go for me, it's already too late. I'm already dead. So instead, I sat in the window to scout the dive, right? So, and he says it in a second. The second I saw the Genji, I immediately went back. So hold on.
Kind of like retreat back.
I would never hook the ground here. I would just pray that back wall heals me long enough to hook up. I would never hook the ground here. But yeah.
Hallway. But if they had, for example, like a Tracer or somebody come from behind, or any sort of like pincer, they're very easily
Yes,
able
if
to...
Tracer somehow made it up the entirety of the choke and all the way behind us, then yes, I would have died. But we had just reset a fight. I was in the window watching the choke. I know a Tracer has not come up because we just won the fight. Like, I know that there's no Tracer coming there. It's not possible because I've been staring at the choke from the window.
Pincer you here. Whereas, you know, ideally, you want to be...
Ideally, you do want to be up there. Since we just won the fight, though, I'm watching the choke to see who gets through. And I'm making sure that I'm not in position of the Mega to get dove
on that high ground. This high ground up here gives you the most amount of threat, and then you can kind of drop, but then grapple
Correct.
back up. So when you don't have parallel high grounds, the ability to kind of like be on high ground, be forced off so they have to chase, then grapple back
Yep.
up. So if they use cooldowns to get here, you drop, they chase, then you can use cooldowns to escape back to the high ground
Yep.
you were at. So I definitely like those places, especially when this just gives you the most amount of
Absolutely.
threat and completely removes the ability from Tracer.
Except in this scenario, I knew Tracer wasn't going to be here, and it wasn't possible. So that's why I wasn't up there. Because I didn't have to worry about this threat that he was talking about.
Punch you down. On the alternative, if you did kind of like retreat out this window and then grappled immediately to Arch, that would be fine. It depends. They don't have a Widowmaker at this point, so it's less important that you are kind of unpredictable.
See, I think here he thinks I'm trying to be unpredictable. In reality, I'm just doing my own scouting job of the choke in the right flank. Because I can't rely on my team to do it, because they don't speak English.
Positioning, because you want to make it very, very difficult for the opponents to actually scout your location.
So we're at
constantly
2-3-5-0. That's why if you notice right here when he's watching me, see how I'm looking, I'm scouting, I'm getting my own analysis.
Powerful duo.
The second that I see the Genji, you'll notice I don't even shoot. I go, oh,
for Jayne had even been
peace,
able to
I'm out.
reset.
I know where I need to
So
be.
this is just another. fight after fight is going to be a problem. And maybe like Kephrii's mine is over around the arch, so he's kind of very, very cautious about Saiyajin's Genji, flanking around that side. But if he does kind of like have any scouting on his team, they should be able to call whether or not Genji's actually, like, if he's present up here, he's obviously not going for this flank. So, and do we see, is Saya previously scouted? So, was this kind of reposition, was this reposition done based on Genji?
Well, yeah, it was done on Genji. It was just I had to scout him because I can't hear my team to scout him.
Very powerful duo.
And Tito dying twice before Jayne had even been able to reset.
So there's Genji right. Oh,
Look at
okay. Prop.
Hey, thanks.
So this movement back to the arch is based on having seen the Genji.
there's almost a full
That's good.
Christmas tree.
That's good.
Thank
now
you.
he knows he can be here. It's not really a problem. One of the things you'd want to be kind of careful about is that moving here, having used your grapple, does make you a little bit more exposed.
True.
However, with kind of how low, oh no, that's his tanks there. So no, this does make him a little bit more exposed if cooldowns haven't been used, but that's like minor.
Yeah, it was minor, and that's correct. That's exactly why I didn't mind doing the hook.
Down early though. This is something. This is
So
an opening.
we end up, I think, losing this fight in the end. I don't remember.
That rocket barrage.
Yeah.
Sergeant got hold on a second counter trade though.
Yeah, we lose this
is starting to
fight.
look decent for Jayne.
Drink
they
water.
also had that closer respawn. We must not forget that.
So like this fight we lost for a lot of issues, but we were just a little too exposed in the open. You know what I mean?
Truck sky high. Good
blah,
close
blah.
out.
Oh, no,
Man,
man.
One
Like,
for
this
one
fight
with
went
the
down
defense, and that's
before-
big now for Jayne. They're in a much
Wasn't
more
much I could
favorable
do.
position than before. Even when losing Pichu, they've kind of steered through the worst bit. It's only water really in the mix of this one. Nosy is to get out of here.
And that was such a difficult place for Global Esports to be because they finally lost a player. Playing 6 versus 5 as well. Mushroom actually misses the pulse bomb.
Little unfortunate, travel range was there. As he jumped up into the air, the cap goes over. Now Global Esports, they're in deep, they've committed.
They might have been able to win that one, but
Yeah, it would have been hard.
yeah, I don't have that mug. I gotta go get that
They
mug.
actually are in a decent position though. Kephrii's back into the mix. Water was still alive from the previous.
I'm just putting
games.
pressure.
And at this sort of point, the 6v5, they can play quite close. They can make sure the.
So this is like one of Kephrii's better positions, and this
Oh
position.
yeah, I'm not really defending myself, chat. I'm just explaining my perspective and giving you guys the context as to why I did things based on what I actually knew, and just showing you how it differs from like Jayne's analysis from what he could see. I'm not saying like Jayne, like all of Jayne's like assessments were pretty fucking dead on, if he didn't have any context whatsoever.
Pretty nice in the fact that you can threaten this arch. They don't have the ability to really push this without Kephrii being able to threaten here. And this has a pretty decent position for him to be able to just grapple backwards and like pull a large amount of distance if he does get dove. So this is like one of Kephrii's more aggressive positions, and he does get quite a bit of value. But then you'll see in second point here, Kephrii does back off, play really far back, even while Water consistently wants to be extremely aggressive.
So remember what I told you guys earlier, this dive comp, right? They can't punish Water very well for playing aggressive, right? So just keep that in mind. Water is being aggressive in his positioning, and it's because he just doesn't get punished. Like, they can't capitalize on it really. So that's why he's doing it. With or without me, that's why he's doing it.
Vertically above people, since with just the Genji Tracer, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to be able to take Water out on this Pharah.
Doesn't get good movement yet, putting a lot of pressure even onto Sun.
So I popped vision because they're all there. The flankers are getting in position, and I know that they're about to take control of this map, right? And I want my team to know, hey, where is everybody going?
Like, there's this retreat here, but so he's getting a little bit pressured. He already had the Orb of Harmony on him from backwall, so he could have stayed up there and like forced a cooldown out before he either decided to elected to take the duel or retreated. So he like plays extremely.
So there's the reason I didn't do that, right? If I would have waited till I got dove, like I could have stayed there, right? I have an Orb of Harmony on me, great. That's not gonna out heal this Genji, and if that Zen puts a Discord on me, and the Winston Diva jump for me, it's not going to matter if I hook away. I'm going to die, and I'm going to die quickly. So in this scenario, knowing that my team was not next to me, and there was a full enemy team directly below me, I didn't want to risk them using a mobility cooldown. I didn't want to make them even dive for me. I wanted to get the fuck out of there before they could commit to me. Plus, if they did dive up here, now they've taken our high ground. And so by me standing on this ledge alone, I would almost elect to make them take my high ground from me and almost kill me in the process. I would rather them not even threaten my high ground yet. And when they do come to threaten it, I'm already in position to shoot at you and stop you from taking it. So now I'm stopping them from taking my high ground. And then, like I said earlier, Water and I, we're doing the cross right there, right? Water knew that Tracer was there because I popped walls indicating a Tracer was going to the left. I called out this guy with the wall hacks there. Water cleans it up, and now we're doing that pincer, left and right.
On a different angle.
So now at this point, I can play up, and I need to play up.
From somewhere else.
The crossfire from these two, and just the number of kills Water has got on these squishy, even higher.
So, where am I at? So I'm still back there, and that's where Jayne is correct, in that there's a communication disconnect. I could have played more up right here.
Able to get just one.
And now in a couple seconds, I do move forward more and take some shots, but then I back down immediately.
So their ability to dive is a lot worse, but at the same point.
So I knew this Genji had Blade because we hadn't seen it in like a decade, which is why I'm back here. The reason I'm there is because of this Blade. I did not want to be a quick reset for this guy. So I backed the fuck up to avoid being a Blade reset. And as a result, if you watch the Genji's health bar right here, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a bullet trail from me. He was discorded, got direct rocketed, and I body shot tagged him.
Here comes a
So I was there waiting for that Genji.
This guy's consistency on Barrett is insane.
Mushrooms actually swapped onto the Brigading here, so their ability to dive is a lot worse, but at the same point.
And he's just deleted.
Oh, are you kidding me? Water again!
And so now those tanks, right? Those tanks tried to follow up.
Comes up.
Oh, are you kidding me?
And then you just have Water and I laying into him.
Again!
But if I was already here, right? And that was only a couple seconds before, right? If only a couple seconds before.
Is insane.
Mushrooms actually
We're talking 5 seconds.
So their ability to dive is a lot worse, but at the same point.
In less than 5 seconds,
me?
everybody was up here. Yeah, Amber Alerts, I get it. Thank you. Yep, I appreciate it. So that's why I was so far back. I knew a Blade was coming, I knew a dive was coming, and I didn't want to be there when it happened, and I wanted to be able to help provide covering fire when it did happen.
Water again! And
Water just connects with a damage boosted direct. That's nice. I'm not sure what else did the damage to him, whether Kephrii landed a body shot or not. But
so right here, I could go
that's
play
Blade
up,
done,
and I could
so.
provide some extra damage.
That's one of the downsides
because
of
the
using
Genji's
Blade
now not in the
that
question. I don't have to worry about
they didn't use Blade.
a Genji
They
Blade.
didn't have Valkyrie. They didn't have Nano. They didn't do Beat Blade.
And so exactly where I'm at. So the reason I'm up now is because there is no Genji Blade. There is no threat. There is nothing. Sure, Diva Winston can leap for me, but I can hook away. But the Blade was what made it dangerous to play up. And since the Blade was no longer in the question, there was nothing stopping me from playing up and playing aggressive with our Pharah anymore.
Or Transblade or anything of that variety. They just went in with Natural Blade, and Natural Blade is honestly not that hard to deal with. You pretty much, if you're going just natural.
This was ballsy on Water's part. Water, I love you. This is ballsy. Water's in the chat. This is ballsy against a McCree.
It's so hard because every single person is going to exploit
But
all
he communicated it with Inhyok. The bubble came down.
Their cooldowns immediately.
Got us
to try
killed
and punish
though.
You. So you need some way to cover for you, like you being defense matrix. You
Love
need
you, Water.
If you're going natural, not only is everyone going to be using cooldowns against you, but you have
So
to.
like I'm right here though. Like this entire time that Jayne was talking about how he wishes I had an aggressive positioning with Water, I'm right here. And I'm doing an aggressive positioning with Water. I took out the Lucio. Like, I'm here laying down the law while he was doing his thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm with him. I am aggressive.
To have your team using cooldowns to assist you. Just like how a Pharah barrage is. Like, everyone's going to be using those.
I'm not saying I didn't make mistakes, chat. I see some people saying that. I'm not saying I didn't make mistakes. Jayne shed a lot of light, and I learned a lot from what he was saying. I'm not making excuses or like rationalizing. I'm just explaining to you what I did and why I did it. I'm not saying if it was right or wrong. I'm just telling you why I did it. Just a matter of perspective and context.
Cooldowns to make sure that the barrage is
So like, and like right there, like I knew the Winston would leap up, which is exactly why I was starting to back up. Like I could feel, like the you know, like that intuition, like in game, I could just feel. I was like, I knew that dude was gonna leap, and so I was like, let me just back the fuck up.
Those cooldowns to make sure.
And
that
then he just gets pushed straight back down,
as possible, or get as much value as possible. Now, in this composition, when you're looking at Kephrii playing Widowmaker, the good thing is that
I go over here. And the reason being is that it was a communication disconnect. Just like Jayne says, it is a communication disconnect. And also because the sightline, being on this ledge or this corner and shooting straight down right here, it's an extremely hard angle to shoot. And on top of that, it makes me very susceptible to Winston Diva dive with a Discord Orb on me. And Discord Orb only falls off after 3 seconds of breaking line of sight. So if I get discorded and I start to run away, they can connect to me and kill me before I can escape. Like, it's just not a safe place to be anymore. However, given that my tanks were going in, I could have stayed there a little longer. So I didn't know they were going in, though.
Let's talk about this position here. The good thing being that they have the Brigitte, and Brigitte against Widowmaker Pharah is like really, really not a good choice at all. Because like Brigitte is something that constantly wants to be brawling, and unless you can force an opposing team to come to you in some way, usually by kind of increasing the amount of objective pressure like Goats does, the Brigitte doesn't get pretty much any value against a Widowmaker or a Pharah. And even in the McCree in this situation, the McCree can help with like taking out water on the Pharah, as well as can contest Kephrii. But we've talked about this before, where
their
you kind
composition
of like have a
realistically was the problem. They needed the Widow to deal with me and Pharah.
So the thing is that McCree in this situation is a reactive counter. What's a proactive counter? A proactive counter is how a Sombra or a Tracer counters a Zenyatta. So in that case, the Zenyatta can't do anything to prevent the Tracer or Sombra from engaging on him on his own. You can keep him safe, you can kind of play around with other heroes, that's fine. But if the Zenyatta is like playing in deathmatch and then there's a Sombra or a Tracer, the Sombra or the Tracer is going to be able to take that engagement with the Zenyatta. They're going to be able to force that engagement to actually occur. But in the situation of the McCree versus a Widowmaker, the Widowmaker has much higher mobility and much longer range. The McCree can...
So I think they were trying that initially, right? Because Mushroom was on Tracer and Saya was on Genji, but it didn't work. The Blade failed and the Tracer got picked by water early when I popped walls. I think that they got scared and panicked, and they said, you know what, let's go to a new strategy. There's only 2 tanks contesting the payload. Let's go fight the payload, right? So I think that's why Mushroom and Saya went McCree and Brig, so they could go fight the payload.
Zone, but cannot force an engagement onto a Widowmaker. And the same goes for Pharah here, in that the Pharah can be zoned, so if they do elect to pick the engagement, they could be at the disadvantage there. But Water at any point can be like, fuck you, you cowboy asshole, and just like peace off behind a building, right? McCree can't grow wings and give chase or anything like that. That just doesn't happen. So McCree in this situation is a reactive counter to both the Widowmaker and the Pharah, and the Brigitte is going to be causing a lot of kind of objective pressure, which is going to make it difficult for the tank.
I think just a little bit to touch on, right? The McCree, I think, was the reactive counter to me and Pharah, right? But I also think that the McCree was the pick that would help his tanks on the cart, too. You know what I mean? Like, if he played Widow, then he couldn't help the cart. Sure, he could deal with Pharah and me, but he couldn't help the cart. So I think that's why he picked McCree. It was a bad pick. And it was a bad pick. It was definitely a reactive, but I think that's why he did it.
But long story short is that Kephrii and Water should basically be more or less uncontested. And then Saya Jingod on the McCree here, not only does he have to counter, in quotes, both Kephrii and Water, but he also has to do that while he's probably going to be getting pressured by Titawat or Sun series. So if the tanks go in at the time in which Kephrii and Water have set up the crossfire, that's so very difficult for them to actually deal with anything.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of
The
thinking
comp
about
sucks.
the McCree and the
Yeah.
Brigida
Giants comp
composition
sucks.
here being meant to kind of take out the far out of the Widowmaker, you're probably thinking about this a little bit wrong.
Correct.
The way that this composition actually works the best is trying to burn and prevent the tanks
exactly.
of global
Exactly.
esports pantheon from getting any
He picked
value.
this exactly
And
to counter our
the thing
tanks.
is that you can chain stuns. You can have the 1.0 second stun of the Brigida Bash, as well as the 0.7 second of the Flashbang, in order to just completely delete any hero from global esports pantheon. You know, if they've got it discarded, if the McCree's landing those headshots, even a diva, that chain stun prevents her from being able to defense matrix any damage, and she just gets demeched immediately and destroyed. So the key here for global esports is going to be trying to contest at a point in time in which their DPS will very quickly get value. And
what would you do if you're Jayne Esports? They needed to switch this comp altogether. They needed to go probably like Sombra Genji, realistically, or even Widow Genji or Widow Sombra. They needed one form of hit scan, and then they needed a second to help with that pincer. Like Sombra Genji probably would have been great, honestly.
And trying to avoid getting chain stunned as much as they can. So Monkey in first, defense matrix to save.
That's not me like thinking it out like hardcore. That's just initial reaction. I could be wrong. Just initially, Sombra, like if Saya and Mushroom were Sombra and Genji, they'd have a higher chance of winning than that comp.
They need to kind of.
However, in this scenario, they could kill it on the cart with this comp. It's just if they're gonna kill it on the cart, then they have to pray Water and I drop the ball and don't do anything.
Value from Kephrii and Water as quickly as possible. But Kephrii's location here is he was in a pretty aggressive location here. It's not the greatest location, but it's a pretty, sharp angle. This is probably easier to make him land shots, but it's still going to give him, but he's still like, so he's out of range of the McCree's fall off, whereas here he would be in range of the McCree's fall off with the Zenyatta and the McCree.
One shot me.
But if you're playing this right, you want the tanks to be able to kind of prevent the pressure to be put onto
everything he's
either
saying
the
here is
Pharah
totally
or the
correct.
Widowmaker, so they can get value basically uncontested while the tanks are trying to slow things down.
Yeah.
So, with that,
the problem was I thought this cart was going to turn the corner. I didn't know our team was going in because of a communication language barrier.
Let's take a look at this fight.
Chinese sports.
So like they went in, like my team's going ham, and I'm like, well, I just hooked across the way. Fuck.
Man, once again, and they've got barely any.
So like you can see me. I'm actually right here on low ground. I'm actually right here on low ground by the mini, and I'm like, well, maybe I can stretch an angle to the corner. Like maybe I can get something to help you. Like I didn't realize you guys were going in.
Well,
so I'm like shooting the Winston. I help him pop ult at least.
They've started getting it's just not much. Primal Rage pop from.
So the consistent theme here is basically that Kephrii is staying alive. He gets the occasional shots, and actually later on you'll see that he gets like quite a few good ones. But his overall threat and overall presence in the fight is very, very
I don't want
low.
to say that's a little bit of a bold statement. That's you're saying like the way that was worded makes it seem like every fight I have low presence. This was the first real fight that I had no presence. And to be fair, even if I played the angle he told me to play, look where they're at. They were going under church. I still wasn't going to be able to see it anyways. So like, yeah, I should have been right up here, but like I still wouldn't have been able to see it anyways. But no, he's not wrong. I was in the wrong spot. That's why I was like, fuck. I didn't realize we were fighting here. I thought we were letting it come around the corner. I just assumed we would let it come around the corner so that way we'd play in my sight line.
His presence of the fight is just really low. And the reason for
and that is true. The Winston jumped right up there and primaled. So if I was there, I would have probably hooked out to where I was anyways to avoid the Winston. So in the end, I wasn't going to get any value.
It's a fault of his positioning, yes, but I would assume it's more of the communication and the coordination between global esports.
That is correct.
And the fact that, like, look how Water is playing, right? Also, if you guys didn't know, XQC on a budget was forced to rename him and delete Brig. But
Jayne, stay on topic.
yes, fine. That would have required kind of giving Giant Esports more space to walk into Kephree's sightlines. But Kephrii, by retreating, he removed the amount of pressure, removed the amount of value, and Global Esports pretty much won this fight 5v6.
Yeah, well, they won it 5v6, but to be fair, it wasn't 5v6. It was 6v6. The Winston leaped up here, got fucking deleted by Water and I, popped Primal, and ditched.
But he's had a Discord orb on him that whole time. Eats a chunk of pain.
So now this entire fight, I'm not really in yet, but I do eventually show up.
Actually, thinking about it, I'm not sure if XQC on a budget was forced to rename.
Jayne.
Delete Brig was, though. XQC on a budget.
Continue to be... No, he
I don't know for sure whether XQC on a budget was forced to rename.
So, I want to say if you look right here, I don't know if we could see that in time. Hold on, I'm going to back it up. I want to see if we could see this in time. So I don't think you guys... I'm pretty sure I'm right here on the high ground already. Like, I'm already back. It's not like when Winston leapt and primaled away, I just went and sat on the mini with my thumb in my ass. Like, I was already back up here on high ground.
No, he does go down. Chose not to commit this. But, I mean, what's the plan here for Giant? Are they just going to let themselves continue to be separated?
They have to reset here because Siege and God was respawning.
I can't tell, though.
I mean,
yeah. See, look, right there? See how Rocket just died?
I mean...
So, yeah, I am high ground already. I'm already aggressive with Farah again. So, if you look right here...
The reset here because Siege and God was respawning.
There's Rocket, the Lucio, the enemy Lucio. Right then he dies. So I'm right here. That was my shot right there. So I was aggressively pushed up. You just don't see me. Like the Winston leaped up. Like, okay, so like I should have been up there already, right? And he was like, hey, this is where Kef should be. You know, like this is where he should be. I went over here. The Winston leaps up, which is probably why I wasn't there in the first place. I mean, it was why. I knew they could leap up. We peg him down. He pops Primal. He leaves. I come back. I do my job. And I'm right here with Water. Like, laying in the pipe.
I say that Pichu actually does use the Transcendence and then Giant can regroup with them, but right now they're being staggered killed. And Hyok's looking for a little bit more, so is Water. And Giant Esports, they need to regroup as 6
and like, there's me, like, aggressive as fuck, right there with Water the whole time.
Actually have ultimates, but they don't have a chance to use them as long as...
I should have hit that shot. That was such a fucking whiff.
Pushed up, and Kephrii looking for more frags. It's likely it's going to be another...
So I'm trying to get this pick so I can deny this final push, you know what I mean?
In favor of Pantheon.
It's going to be a tough push to make all the way as well. Lot of distance.
So I'm backing up to avoid initial dive range.
Very little time.
So that was like one of the Kephrii didn't get any value there, but he was pushed pretty far up and he was looking for picks.
He was gonna say that was one of the one times, which isn't true. It's just one of the only times you could see because the camera for some reason is not interested in me.
Safe situation. If he did land that shot on the
That would have
Lucio,
been huge.
that would have set them back and almost denied that last fight. So like that positioning and what Kephrii was doing there was really good.
I just
the rest
didn't.
of the time
I just
he
didn't
could be
succeed.
getting more pressure by like being more aggressive. And the way
But
that
I
you
am
want to do that is kind
aggressive,
of
you're
according
just
to the
not
tanks, but then I'm not sure how large the language barrier is.
I'm only just really getting back onto it now, and if they lose one fight, they are donezo.
It's like look where they're at. This is the same scenario, by the way, guys. Earlier, this is where the enemy
More
team was
aggressive,
that first
and
push.
that is kind of be coordinated.
Even with
tanks,
me
but
on
then
this
I'm not
corner,
sure
look at how little
large the
damage and
language
value
barrier
I
is.
have, though.
I'm only just really getting back.
I feel like they
onto
just
it now,
play
and if
under.
They lose one fight, they are donezo. Self-destruct board.
And to be fair, we're back where we were earlier. Water's right here putting in the pipe, but they still like, I still can't see him right there.
Force that death onto Water. Pichu pops Transcendence and Jayne are in a decent spot here. Didn't get much for the rest of their ult.
Overtime.
Water just seems like somebody who's just so upset that the rest of his team isn't playing it at as high of a pace that he wants to play at.
He's not wrong. Water is so fucking good, dude.
have global esports pantheon. No one quite the better of it yet, but the card is moving.
And as
So
we
I'm trying to
final
get these
stages,
supports
there's
out.
Swapping onto the Zarya now. And the final push from Giant Esports. No, barely any ults on either side. The pick's
I
gonna be
failed to get the
important.
Diva.
Self-destruct up in the air. Not
So
able
thankfully
to
I get the
that
Brig
headshot
right there. And Brig is such a bitch, so that made me happy.
onto the D-Mech
Finds that one.
Nice little
final
frag on the
mushroom,
Brigitte.
though, you're happy to say Kephrii's pretty
Tried to
safe
clip that
here.
guy, but it failed.
Pressure is on
Lucio's so
Giant
hard to
getting
hit.
Kills, but they're just surrounded, taking so much damage on all sides. If
Picking
anyone
some
pops out
feet.
for too long,
Fuck it.
Kephrii finds them. Gio got even shot.
So we get the
T1's
feet.
up the
Shot
front of
him
the cart.
un-
That's
shot him
such
in
an
the
unfortunate
feet
way
under
to
the
die,
payload.
But the reality is, they'd already taken so
Could
much
have gone for
damage,
more
they
shots
weren't.
on tanks. Yeah. Yes, technically I could have. No, it wasn't a good use of my bullets. For like the fluidity of like transitioning and moving around, it's a waste of damage.
Able to heal themselves back up, and they weren't getting counter trades either.
It took
Peter
me.
would enjoy
It
the
took me a
triple hit.
long time to start thinking out of the box like that, being able to shoot under payloads and like
Always
through
shoot under the
cracks.
feet.
It took me a long time to start thinking about like the actual geometry of payloads and things
The
like that.
geometry
That was stuff.
payloads.
Like
It's fucking-
people
I picture
shooting
him with
things
graphing
through
paper,
cracks and little
like a
gaps and things
protractor.
and things like that. That was always stuff that really impressed me about pro play when I early on started watching it.
You fast forwarding this, Jayne?
Open space.
Yes,
for
yes,
fire
yes.
to
Let's
be-
watch
Okay. Thanks.
The goat is it's too utilized. What? But that's actually see.
Super and water in the way that they have.
Yeah, and it's the passive damage. It's just the fact that he gets to constantly shoot you.
I don't know if he saw what I did there. Because he sees them saying back to Widow. I was in the doorway on Sombra Invisible, so I could scout the enemy's location without them knowing that I'm scouting their location. But I don't think he knew that.
Spectator.
Difficult
There
for
we
you to
go.
contest him, and even on this attack, it's going to be very much the same thing. In fact, I would argue it's even more difficult for Giant Esports to contest Kephrii now while they're attacking.
I missed the shot on Zen.
Very little you can
Would
do
have
about
been
that
cool.
sight line.
Early
You always
jump
wonder if
shots,
there's a
that's
point
fine.
where someone on Giant
At this
wants to
point,
swap
you're still
off
trying to
just
scout exactly
straight
what
up
they
Exactly.
have, so
Kephrii
it's not
head to
really a
head.
big deal that you're not being aggressive. You're going to realize that they do have dive goats here, so Kephrii does have to play
Correct.
safe here, but wants to be making
But
sure
I do
that,
know
again,
what I can do.
He can control whether or not he actually gets
Yep.
a dove, because if he does get dove, he wants to be in a position that's essentially at max distance. So you can play a very, very baity style here with Widowmaker, in that you want to be able to threaten in such a way that you will get value or apply pressure unless the opponent does something about it. You want the opponent's quote-unquote do something about it
Yes.
to be expend a cooldown, not to be stand behind a wall. So if Kephrii was in some position where he could kind of grapple away, he wants to be in as aggressive as a position he can, where the opponent either has to give up the space that he's threatening or to use a cooldown to
Yes.
contest and zone him. And if they do that, then he can grapple backwards, and then the opponents can't give chase because they've used their cooldowns
Yeah.
to do that. That gives the Widowmaker a lot of value outside of
Yeah.
just finding headshots here. So this position isn't really great.
I'm gonna
and
pause
this-
him there. This position's fucking fantastic. Just gonna correct you entirely. The entire enemy team is right here. And this is the only angle to see the enemy team. This angle's fucking fantastic. Now, once this enemy team makes it through this little choke, then this angle sucks. But right now, this angle's fantastic.
This is one of the positions that I talk about being like the Kephrii special. Is that look at how thin this crack is. And Kephrii
It's better than no angle.
gets a 4K on this attack here, but you'll see that he managed to get a 4K through a sightline that's almost smaller than this one. So let's take a look at this some more.
Couldn't get the shot,
Hello, audio?
but now
vice
I
versa.
migrate to a more open spot, to take more shots.
This is a great
Thank
position.
you.
With the 2 DPSs.
Thank
What
you.
finally opens it up? They
My
find
man.
you. I mean, both these
So right there, made him do something about it. The Winston went for me. He did something about it, expended a cooldown, gets
Nice. Cooldown
debated,
used, grapple away.
and water comes in and just fucking rains havoc.
And there it is,
Dude.
water again, just all over that
Doesn't need to
kill
get
feed.
kills,
Gets
force
two
them
with
to
one
commit.
Yeah, exactly.
pocket.
Force them to
Nice
expend
knife.
cooldowns, got away
But I
alive.
did headshot that Bridget, goddammit. But yeah, no, he's absolutely right. He did see that.
And
That makes me
trying to
feel
think
good.
right now.
I'm glad he
Here
didn't
we
think
go,
that I was
as
just
soon
dog
as they
shit.
Try and pressure out Kephrii, water is unattended and he's getting so much.
But do you know why, like, that Winston came back for me? Do you know, like, the even bigger brain? The only reason that Winston came back for me
Just get a 4K
was because of this shot in the small frame.
Let's take a look at this some more.
I took the shot, the Winston turned immediately around. It was like, oh, I'm coming for
This is
that
a great
bitch.
position.
Like, anyways.
Pressure out Kephrii, water is unattended and he's getting so much free damage. As soon as they try and pressure out water,
So watch the angle Kephrii takes here. Watch the angle Kephrii
is
takes here.
unattended and
He's going to sit right in this tiny-ass room.
Not entirely true, actually.
no matter.
I don't think he saw. I went out around the corner and I'm peeking. Do you see this peek? I'm trying to actually push an aggressive large angle just like he wants me to do.
Somebody is shooting you for free. Somebody
However, I missed the shot and I get Discord orbed by the enemy Zen. And I didn't want that to keep happening.
way too much damage.
So now I help shoot these people, right? And if you look at where I'm at right now, right here in this opening, this is the only angle where I can see the enemies at this point in time. And I tagged the Lucio once, right? And so now I'm like, okay, I need to migrate back. I know that that Zen that I missed is coming. And so I take out the Zen. But now if you look, I have 16 health. 16 health. I can no longer afford to leave this room. And I can no longer afford to go an aggressive angle. Or take a high ground. I have to stay. Oh, you guys can't see? Okay. Hold on. I have 16 health. After I kill the Zenyatta, right, who came through this doorway, you can still see my bullet trail. I have 16 health. And if I leave this room for a more aggressive angle, I would die. So I have to stay in there.
Giant's Goats is just not
So
equipped
then I pop walls, which I know he hates that I popped walls, right? I know he hates it. I know he does. I know it. But I have 16 health. I need to see where the enemy's at. I need to make sure that we're going to, clean all this shit up. And also, the walls kind of help me get the rest of the picks to win it.
for this kind of
Pop
composition.
sights when he's 2 up.
The only reason I killed that diva was because of walls. The only reason I killed the Lucio was because of walls. And the Brig.
4.
Would we have won this fight without it? Probably yes. Probably yes. However, thankfully, we did still get value out of the walls. Only due to the enemy making a mistake, though. Only due to the enemy making a mistake. He is not wrong. I shouldn't have popped walls there. I wouldn't have needed to pop walls if I had communication ability with my team. And it was a bad wall hack. So, he's not wrong. He's absolutely correct. This was a bad time to pop walls. Can I rationalize it and say the walls gave me 3 more kills? Yes. It kept me alive? Sure, maybe. But realistically, we would have won this fight even if I died, even without the walls. It was a bad wall hack. He's right.
They focus on water. Kephrii gets.
So it's a 4K, and I think he actually posted a perspective of this kill. Let me take a look at this. Hello? Are you going to work? There we are. Okay, so here's Kephrii's perspective of that 4K. So he's in a good position here. I'm not sure if prior to this he was actually peeking around this corner on the
you
right
can actually
side.
see Orb of Discord gained from. I got Discord Orb, so I came back.
Try and get some like cheeky kills while people are moving into position to contest the payload. But take a look at this.
So now this is the most high value sightline that I could take outside of standing in the wide open with a Discord Orb on me. So I gotta pick a little tag on the Lucio. I know the Zen is coming, and I don't want to fight the Zen close range right here in this corner, right? So that's why I hooked back here, so I could have a little bit more of an angle for the Zen, and to be able to see this cart.
Not the greatest use of grapple there.
So he says it's not the greatest use of grapple. It was the best use of grapple I could do right there. Like, I could have grappled the high ground or something, but then I'm trying to shoot straight down, like, I'm trying to, like, get some value. If I grappled the high ground and the Winston Diva went for me, I'd have no grapple to escape. I would likely die. that was the best possible scenario that I could have used grapple, and it put distance between me and the Zen and let me kill the Zen while getting view of this cart. And again, I'm not saying that Jayne is bad. That was not what I'm saying by this. I'm just saying it's context. He didn't understand the inside of the game while I'm playing. Like, he couldn't have known this. He couldn't have known this information. You really should have saved your grapple in case you get dove. No, I had to use it there to get away from that Zen, so I didn't get collapsed on.
Gets the Zenyatta.
So I pop walls because I don't know what's going on in this team fight. This walls was bad. The walls were bad. You most likely would have heard the Zen charging his right click. It doesn't matter if I hear it. It's a hard fucking shot. You're telling me to take a fight with a Zen with like point blank distance as a Widow. It's a hard shot. It was much easier to put space between us and use the angle. Also, I almost died in the process of the hook.
While people are moving into position. Greatest use of grapple there. So he's sitting on this like pretty sharp angle.
Like, that shit would have clipped me. The only reason I lived was because I had some wall to hide behind. Like, I barely lived through that kid.
The Zenyatta?
So the sights were bad, though. 100% these sights were completely bad. I shouldn't have done it. I did it because I didn't know what the enemy team was. I didn't know the state of the fight. In my brain, I'm fighting the Zen. I killed the Zen. And I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? Because, again, my team speaks all Korean. And I speak English. So I don't know who's dead. I don't know who's low. I don't know who's where. I don't know anything about this fight. At all. So I pop walls and I'm just like, let's hope for the best. Like, okay. Here's where everyone's at. My health is not in immediate danger. Let me go ahead and help the fight.
And look at this, like, just the sight lines that Kephrii uses here. Gets the Lucio, gets the Brigitte.
So thankfully...
So this is definitely a different play style than what Overwatch League Widows do. So good kind of recognizing that the Zenyatta...
And it's like... So it's funny that he says that, because it's actually not that different. If you look at where I'm standing right here,
it's the Brigitte.
This is the most wide open view of the whole point. Like, it lets me see everything from the direction they're coming. That's me in a lane looking at where they're coming from. Like, that's the most forward lane possible. If they were coming from the far right side, then like, sure, but I already killed the Zen. So it's like, this is the sight line. So thankfully, I get value out of this infra sight, but I shouldn't have. So again, I can rationalize all day why these walls like worked, but in reality, it was a bad wall hack, and I used it because of a language barrier. Thankfully, this enemy team didn't capitalize on it, and they went and postured up, even with my infra sight still on, as opposed to waiting to posture till afterwards.
So this is definitely a different play style than what Overwatch League Widows do. So good kind of recognizing that the Zenyatta was there, getting him, get that crazy flick on the mini diva, and then Lucio.
You're so defensive, it's crazy. I'm not defensive, I'm just explaining my perspective. I'm just letting you know what I was thinking. I'm not defensive, I'm telling you straight up, they were bad fucking wall hacks. It was a bad wall hack.
So
Jayne.
What?
Jayne!
Hello?
Stay on task! Jesus, your grandma fetish.
But we'll let it play out.
Doesn't seem like a bad infra to me. Okay, so it's not that it's bad. It's that it could have been better. It's not that that was a bad infra site. We used a lot, right? We got a lot out of it. It could have been saved for a team fight that wasn't a guaranteed win. Whereas this one was already a guaranteed win. Baby Bay, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, Baby Bay, I already know. Yeah, you and I have already talked about Widow, yeah. This is one of the best so since this will eventually go on YouTube, Bay said, this is one of the best spots to snipe aggressively from because you can bait the enemy team to jump you and then it's an easy collapse. And if they leave you there uncontested, you kill their backline easy peasy. And that's exactly what happened. That was exactly how it went down. So we didn't need the walls. I used them. They could have been used elsewhere. That was just a language barrier. Let's move on. I'm repeating myself too much here.
It's the work done. The cap's going to come through.
They're just tag teaming in and out.
So right here, right? I'm pushing up hardcore because I still have infra sight on. Thankfully, the diva on the enemy team, or Winston rather, whoever the fuck this blob is, right, made a huge mistake. He didn't look at the timer to know when my walls were up. As a result, I knew the enemy team was going to go high ground. All of them. That's the only reason that this wall hack turned out to not be a bad wall hack. This wall hack gave me all of the information I needed because they failed to wait. It was pure luck that my walls were still up and gave me information. So I know everyone's going to posture up.
Like, there was no real need for the use of sights there at the end there, right? Sayajin God has decided to come on to Widow here.
Not worried about that.
I forgot that the chat's going to make fun of me for saying that. But, so has decided to swap on...
I'm not backpedaling. It was bad. It was a bad wall hack. I'm telling you that I got lucky that the enemy team was bad to get something out of my wall hack.
Widowmaker, in order to try and contest Kephrii. So if Kephrii had the sights here, he could have been using this to shut down the initial counter pick of Widowmaker.
Correct. However, it would only shut him down for 15 seconds. What would have likely happened, let's say I pop walls right now, right? They're all going to stand there with their thumb in their ass for 15 whole seconds while we take map control, right? We've already got map control. This is my Winston on high ground. Water and Medic are already high ground as well. We've already got the map control. If we pop walls here, all we're going to do is just make them sit there for a couple extra seconds. Like, that's all. And thankfully, we already know they're there.
That moment, they share the spotlight so well.
Like, we're already reining in.
Right, we were talking about the situation in which you want to be able to find out the ways in which the opponent is setting up, staging, rolling out, whatever.
And walls would be helpful there. But again, we got lucky. We already know they're there.
So Kephrii here is sitting on this angle, and nobody else has the ability. This is a location in which the attackers, the defenders, Giant Esports coming out, they need to be able to set up a certain position to be able to deal with the composition that Global Esports has, and they have positional advantage. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can do this. If Kephrii had used his sights here, he would have been able to see that.
I already knew they were here. That's why I'm staring here. That, like, the only reason I was staring over here in the doorway was to see if they crossed back. I already knew they were there.
Trying to do his own scouting.
So now I know that they're coming, but I don't want the enemy team to see me, right? So that's why I'm hiding.
Hyuk is trying to do his scouting as well, and then this situation happens where he sees targets. I think he gets scouted. Monkey looks right at him, but he decides not to give these shots. He decides not to shoot until he sees
the
enemy Widowmaker. So a good emphasis on the Widowmaker existence itself. However, I don't think anyone else scouted the Widowmaker for him, and he does get scouted by Inhyuk here, but stays here.
Tough to...
So I could have shot that Winston, right? I could have shot the Winston. But by shooting the Winston, the enemy Widow would know where I'm at. And Jayne and probably most of you are saying, they already knew where you were at, Kephrii. The Winston called you out. Yes, he called me out, but he didn't call me out well enough. He didn't call me out to where the enemy Widow knew exactly what pixel to be aiming on when he jumped out of this corner. And I knew that. And the moment I saw that Winston say, like, I could hear it in my head when I saw the Winston look at me. I could hear him say, hey, enemy Widow's on the left. And I knew that Widow was thinking, all right, I'll take him out. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm a step ahead of you. Let me watch you jump out for me. Come on out.
That's not Widowmaker. Boom. So, like, that's really good. That's really good from him, but there are ways in which it could have been done easier.
I agree.
Right? So you can see he's already on the flank. He's got into that position. He doesn't want to take the shots against Winston and D.Va because he thinks it'll give his position away. He doesn't want to take the shots against the other two that roll out, and he waits to see the Widowmaker. But there's things kind of here in that he's been scouted anyway.
But I'm not. I'm not scouted anyway. That's where we're gonna disagree. And another Widowmaker player would understand this more, right? I am scouted, but I am not pinpointed 100%. The Widow knows my general location, but not the exact. If I shot the Winston, what if the Winston saw you and got called out? He did see me, and he did call me out. That's why this whole thing happened. So we're at 44-16. Right here, I knew this Winston saw me.
Inhyuk
So
is
this
trying to do
Winston
his
sees
scouting
me
as well.
real time.
And then this situation
Winston
happens
sees
where
me.
he
Widow's on the left.
sees
You know,
target.
Widow's on the left.
I think he gets scouted. Monkey looks right at him.
And I
but
know
he
it.
decides not to.
But
give
I
him
know
a
if
shot.
I
He
shoot,
doesn't-
the Widow will have a bullet trail. And that bullet trail will mean that the Widow knows exactly where to look. So I didn't want the Widow to have the bullet trail to pinpoint my exact location. And I knew that by the Widow knowing my ambiguous location, he would challenge me because the Winston called it.
decides not to shoot until he sees the enemy Widowmaker. So a good emphasis on the Widowmaker existence itself. However, I don't think anyone else scouted the Widowmaker for him, and he does.
So
get
he
scouted
says,
by
hey,
Inhyuk
Kef's on the
through
left,
station.
Widow's on the left.
Tough to
And he's like, okay, I'll take
That's
care
not
of them.
Widowmaker.
And I'm like, but you didn't
Oh.
know where.
Catch
why you
him.
don't do it.
So like that's really good. That's really good from him. But there are ways in which it could have been done easier, right? So you can see he's already on the flank. He's got into that position. He doesn't want to take the shots against Winston and D.Va because he thinks it'll give his position away. He doesn't want to take the shots against the other two that roll out, and he waits to see the Widowmaker. But there's things kind of here in that he's been scouted anyway. He's been
Already
scouted
addressed
anyway.
this.
And he could be putting a lot of shots into tanks here, chipping them down.
If I did that, I would lose the advantage in the Widow 1v1 right there. If I would have taken the shots on the tanks that are just going to turn the corner and hide from me anyways, I would have given up any leverage I had on that Widow. It was a bad shot to take. I shouldn't have taken it. And that's why I didn't.
Right? Giant Esports only has the Lucio, Zenyatta, and Brigitte. They don't have a large amount of heals. So chip shots into tanks can really put a lot of
They
pressure.
can put a
especially
lot
when-
of pressure. But what was more important here wasn't chipping down the tanks. What's more important here was taking out the one key threat to Water's existence as he approaches 100% ult charge. He's at 87%. I don't know if you guys can see that. That was what was important here.
The D.Va doesn't know whether they're going to defense matrix the Widowmaker or the Pharah. So if he had known this kind of in advance, he didn't have to take the Widowmaker duel.
It wasn't a duel because I had the advantage. It's not like we're two people at 100% charge strafing into each other. I'm at 100% charge, already aimed. That Widow has to jump, scope, process, and hit 70% before he can pull the trigger. You can't hit 70% before I click your head. It's not going to happen. Not if I'm already holding the angle and you don't know where I'm at. It wasn't a fair duel. I had the advantage, which is why I took that.
He scouted it by himself, and he did it without sights. But if he could, like, instead of taking that duel with Widowmaker, there was a situation where if he had been able to use this corner as cover, if he could use this corner as cover, the Widowmaker can't force the duel on him because he's closer to the angle, right? Cornering 101. The individual
I
who is
understand the
closer
process,
to
yes.
the corner or the cover is the one who can force the engagement. And if you're talking about high ground, that's why the person on the high ground can also engage on anybody on the low ground
I
because
feel like
they
Saiga
are,
would have had a better chance if he crouched into it instead of jumping. He would have had a better chance, but no matter what, Saiga would have lost this duel every single time. Given that I am already 100% charged, hard scoping right where he's walking out. I win that duel every time because of that.
are closer
The
to
only way Saya wins that duel is if he does a CSGO shoulder peek. Saya needed to strafe out, make the red appear, make me shoot the red thinking he's coming out, and then come out fully. He needs to scope in 100%, stutter step, and come back. That was the only way he won that duel against me, and he didn't do it.
corners, whether it's vertical or horizontal, doesn't matter. So if Kephrii has kind of like sights on tanks and on supports, he doesn't have to pretend to not be scouted or not want to give his position away. He can like constantly
See,
be
that's the
getting
thing
value
right there, right? What he said? He said Kephrii doesn't have to pretend to not be scouted. I'm not pretending. I'm not scouted. The Widow does not know my exact location because there was no bullet trail to line it up. I still had the advantage. If I stood here like he's saying, and I laid shots into these tanks that would eventually just go hide, the Widow would have my exact location, and I would have no target. So I'd be standing here shooting nothing because the tanks left my location, and the Widow would then gain the advantage, and the Widow would hard scope my corner right here and wait for me to peek out, which then would mean I have to do a stutter step, bait his shot out, and take the shot off of him. I would be trading dominant positioning with the Widowmaker. It was a bad move. That's why I didn't do this move.
By just pumping damage into the people who are rolling out here for free. But look at this again. He's so kind of focused on the Widowmaker duel, and the lack of scouting and the lack of proper usage of his infrasight is what is making this more difficult than it needs to be, but Kephrii's actual raw mechanical skill is still allowing him to perform.
I already gave my thought on this.
So look at this again.
He won the spotlight so well, and for Giant Esports, they're running out of ideas. Saijan got
He's scouting here because he doesn't know where
That's
they are.
not true. I know where they are. I'm staring here to see if they cross back through. I already know they're there because of the vision.
It'd be really nice to have
He's
infrasights.
getting desperate. He wants to counter snipe, but can you really counter snipe Kephrii here? That is such a dangerous prospect.
This is the first we've seen of Saijan God on this as well, so it's going to be very, very tough to, I mean, even just measure up. The fact that he's not played it thus far.
That's why you don't do it.
Hasn't even.
And you could tell that Giant Esports scouted him, right? Tita Watt saw Kephrii, let him know where Kephrii was, and Saijan did the jump outside the corner. So, yeah, Kephrii just beat him straight up in the duel. But made it harder than he needed to be, and in the process didn't get as much value as he could. Like, the kill, really good, but could do it other ways to get more.
It's not like the Widow, it's not like the Widow was gonna peek me if I had walls out. Yeah, you think the Widow was just gonna walk out? Like, they would have just sat there for 10 seconds, and then this would have happened 10 seconds later into the game.
And safer amount of value.
So the mistake I did make is right here. I should have hooked up to high ground.
Yet, and he is dead. Now it's all.
But I know that there's a
Unless
Zen.
you got 1,200 hours on Widow, don't try
So
it.
now I'm zoning this Zen out because water I don't want to get discorded, and I know Zen needs line of sight to put discord and harmony orb. So now I'm like, all right, well Zen, I'm just not gonna let you leave. Like, you can just stay in here for the rest of the game. Fuck you.
Water right now, it's his turn. Tag team, slap that hand.
And there's water
Just
putting
gonna
it in,
be
dude.
The tank line is absolutely.
And that Zen never got to step out.
Kephrii still keeping the sight line on lockdown.
Yeah, Kephrii still keeping that like really short sight line, trying to zone out the Zenyatta, and not kind of like contributing more damage to the actual team.
'Cause I don't
fight.
need
like,
to.
What did Kephrii actually do during this team?
What do you mean,
fight?
what did I actually do? You just said it.
He had impact. He definitely got
Alright,
impact
thank you.
during the fight.
I'm about to say.
But if you think about like, oh man. If you think about like what actually he did, he really only fired once during this team.
Okay.
That's all he needed to
This is
do.
the first we've seen of Saijan God on this as well, so it's going to be very, very
Widow
tough.
on the left.
I mean,
I
even
got
just
him.
measure
No,
up
you
the
don't.
fact that he's not played it thus far.
That's why you don't.
So he got the
Okay.
Widowmaker.
He hasn't even fired one
I have now
shot yet.
forced all of their tanks and support players to leave my line of sight and bottle up so Water can do his job with 90% ult charge. I have taken out the only thing that could stop Water. Okay, let's keep going.
And he is dead.
Oh, he hit a body shot as well.
Now it's all.
Yes, okay. Fuck the body shot. I just grouped an entire enemy team into a Pharah, but okay.
All Kephrii.
Unless you got 1,200 hours on Widow, don't try it. And Water right now, it's
And then zones out
Correct.
the Zenyatta. So think about it this way. So if Kephrii killed the enemy Widowmaker and then didn't provide value of his own after
Which
that,
would be a very bold statement to say, but yes, go on.
what makes this fight different from a 5v5?
What makes it different from a 5v5 is that we have a Pharah. Pharah's only counter in their team comp is a Widow. I killed their Widow. So yeah, technically on paper it's a 5v5, but our 5 fucking shits on their 5. And on top of that, I put their 5 into a small ball for my Pharah to shit on them with nothing to stop him. And on top of that, it wasn't a 5v5, it was a 5v4. Because the Zen is completely zoned out of this fight. So I removed a Widow, and I removed a Zen indirectly, and my Pharah is free to go to fucking town.
You know, he hit the Lucio on a body shot once and kind of like zoned out the Zenyatta. But other than that,
But other than doing everything you needed to do to win this fight, what did he do? I mean,
not getting as much value as nearly.
what
as he could.
value do you want? You want me to hook across the whole map and go SMG the tanks? What do you mean? I did my my entire job. I took out the Widow. My Pharah got to ult. I zoned the Zen. It's 5 versus 4 in our favor. What do you mean?
How you doing, the player formerly known as Kaluge?
Oh, he's in his chat.
Tag team, slap that hand.
Jeez, it's just going to be...
And then Water did his job.
Line is absolutely deconstructed there. Kephrii still keeping the sight line on lockdown. Sage and Guide.
So now I'm holding the angle to make sure that the enemies don't go right. At this point, my team knows, right, that if I make any sort of call out, it means that they're on the right. We've addressed this in scrims. If Kephrii makes any sound of ununderstandable, it means that I see something.
What can Jayne even do?
And by the way, Global Esports have 4 of the ultimates that they haven't needed to use because both Kephrii and Water just keep getting so much kills. What are you meant to
It's
do
really
here?
crazy sightlines. Okay, like that's probably the
You're
last
not
thing I
even
wanted to
finish
talk
the
about in this
game?
pod, but let's kind of take a look at like.
I hook shot a Lucio right after that. And that's not a crazy sightline, it's my job. My Pharah's watching top left and I'm watching bottom right.
Widowmaker highlights. Sure.
You're gonna pull up highlights? You're gonna compare me to highlights of Overwatch League pros?
Like compare that playstyle to Pine, maybe?
Okay.
What is a good Widowmaker?
We're gonna assume Pine and I are on the same tier. I'm flattered that he's gonna compare me to him. I'll take that.
That we'd want to compare him to. Want to compare to Pine or something like that? Carpe?
Okay,
Carpe
sure.
has Widowmaker
Stroke my
highlights.
dick a little bit.
Carpe,
Okay.
Widowmaker
Thank you.
highlights.
Neat. Sweet.
Join the Action Esports Bracket
fuck?
Challenge. Play today.
Pine, what is this?
Out of this one just yet.
Jayne, get your shit together!
Harry Hook can get back into the one just yet. Harry Hook can get back.
Okay, so one of the main things, bird ring, very in the open here. Yeah, S4 is pretty good. Like Sure4 is pretty good on Widowmaker here, but just notice kind of like how much aggression there really is on kind of like Overwatch League Widowmakers, how much more aggressive positioning there is. Even in dive, kind of like they know.
Do we want to take note of how it's the last fight of the game in overtime, and he has to fucking fight, or they lose? It's not even the same map. It's not even the same scenario. There's no context. You can't analyze and compare me to this when this is a completely different fucking situation, game, Overwatch League. Like, this is apples to fucking oatmeal.
their limits. They have grapple, they have roots of retreat, and their teams will either be kind of like assisting them in preventing the Widowmaker duel from occurring or being able to peel if the Widowmaker gets jumped.
Back into the mix with Valkyrie.
It was like very in the open. Both Widowmakers.
He's got nothing to
sidelined by
lose,
Ian.
dude. He's got held for 4 minutes.
Entire playfield.
Quick shots from Bird Ring. Yeah, Bird Ring starting to warm up here. Mickey gone. Unko hanging in.
Or was holding them.
Poor
Whatever
Unko.
happened.
Get him, Unko. Damn.
Bird Ring so clean.
That's just a different context.
Zap is going to throw the self-destruct out.
Big
Fury
open
get
threats.
Out of the way, and it's a
I mean, it's a big open threat, but he's flanking. Which is exactly what I did on Dorado. It's the exact same kind of flank. I did this flank. That's what I was doing.
versus 5.
Just in this scenario, there's people in the open. Whereas in my scenario, on high ground, they went into a little ball and got fucked by water.
Got a 4 versus 3 or 5 versus
This is a dumb fight, though. This is a dumb fight. This is an unnecessary risk.
He gets the last shot. 6 HP. 6 HP.
He's away on his mouse pad, and all of a sudden the muscle memory just
Hey,
came.
look!
Burger Ring's
Okay, yeah, I was
doing
about to say, I was like,
the
look, he's doing what I did.
Angles. Oh no, he just opens it right up.
Buddy, well, this is going to be a push.
Oh, look, another tiny one.
Oh, he's constantly moving forward, pressuring, involved with the fight, moving forward with the
I
fight
was
as it
moving
changes.
forward with the fight and involved. The spectator camera just didn't see me. I was there. And you're still comparing me to Overwatch League, which I get it. I'll take the compliment. But, like, I was moving forward. And this is a meta when you could play Widow. Like, You're comparing my passive and safe gameplay to this meta. I'm playing against full dive. I'm playing against full goats. These guys are playing against mirror comps with widows and shit. This is a totally different game, man. It's a totally different context.
Changes location. Not worried about getting headshots or sneaky shots or playing
It's
safe.
King of the Hill! It's...
Just constantly pumping body shots into tanks during chaotic fights or devolved fights.
Not looking for sneaky kills as the next clip is a sneaky kill.
Is certainly a rarity on
Initial angle.
Pine just searching for Soon.
Nice sight lines here.
Trying to get that early pick. Meanwhile, Libero coming around the side. Fires that scatter and does a bit of damage. Oh, and Pine finds Soon. Getting that pick that he was looking for. Custa there with the res, of course, but Pine's not done yet. Ooh, man, Soon.
Soon, that was so
Audio delay in
bad.
this video.
The fact that Soon even went for that shot was bad.
Pine time already? I expected a little bit more.
So, like, there's a few. The main two differences you should be noticing at this point is more aggression,
I am aggressive.
constantly repositioning,
I am very constantly repositioning.
and if you are like threatening an area, move forward to threaten a larger area. But the Overwatch
I
League
couldn't
Widowmakers.
threaten a larger area, and I already did my job. Like, I killed the Pharah, I zoned the Zen, I grouped up the enemy team. The only other thing I could have done was hooked all the way into the enemy tanks and just started fucking SMGing them.
Will have a much larger presence.
And yeah, and that was me against goats or full dive. It wasn't even like, this is a different time period. Oh yeah, I not killed the Pharah, I killed the Widow. Yeah, yeah.
Kephrii takes
Killed the
safe
Pharah
angles,
threat.
stays in those safe angles.
That's not true. That isn't true.
So one of the things is that, like, if you were going to zone the Zenyatta on that high ground like Kephrii did, you want to be doing that in a way in which you can zone while contributing value elsewhere in the fight.
There was no value to contribute. I already did my job. I killed the Widow. I zoned the Zen. It's a 4v5. Where we have a Pharah Mercy just shitting on everything. We already won. Dad, I won the Contenders game. Dad, I'm undefeated in Contenders. I haven't lost a game yet. Why aren't you proud of me, Dad? Why won't you just come home?
Let's look at Carpe versus Linkser?
Meep.
How old is this?
I have games of me versus Carpe. You could analyze one of those. Okay, he's like super safe with a good sightline. It's his Junker Town. It's a complete...
Get him.
The context is just so different. This is not even a... How are you... Jayne, how are you comparing these two? Honestly, this isn't... I just don't know how this is getting compared. It just doesn't make sense.
Get him. That was a nice shot.
Yeah, it was. It was a good shot. This is a good shot, too. I
Super
remember that
open,
shot.
able to threaten so many different areas. Okay, that shot is
a crazy
crazy.
shot. Blue box, yeah.
Blue box control.
That's a good shot. That's a good spot. Why are they there, though? Like he just shot at Ryu J a second ago. Ryu knows walls are up, yet Ryu steps out again. I don't understand. But, again, though, you're still comparing a completely different map, different scenario. Again, apples and oatmeal, man.
Nice.
I just don't, like, stop
That was
peeking.
nice. You wouldn't have been able to
why
make
did
that
Fleta do that when he had walls?
one without sights. Yeah, sure for. Nice. God, good Widowmakers are fun to watch.
I dunno. As a Widow main, I can attest SMG is the best weapon in the game. Love you, man.
And I like listening to assistant coaches' analysis. They're great to listen to.
Oh, man, he knew exactly where he was going to go. And a nice headshot on the big goose.
Who is this?
This is a ranked game on a Smurf account called Haven't Met You.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So, I honestly think that some of Kephree's, like most of Kephree's playstyle is probably from solo queue. Where
I don't solo. Come on, bruh. East Coast stacking. Come on, bruh.
Playing safer, but knowing your limits on Widowmaker, how aggressive you can be, because like there's ways in which you can force the opponent to play in different areas. You can
There's ways that you can force them to play in different areas. Almost like Dorado's second point, when I forced the enemy to play in different areas.
Force them to expend cooldowns, which can be just as valuable as actually getting the kills yourself. Right? If they are forced to use a cooldown, then that's things that they can't use to kill somebody else or can't use to protect themselves if there's a counter dive that comes out. Like, way more aggressive, shorter ranges.
King of the Hill, like fucking ranked games.
But broader number of potential sightlines. This shot from Carver, I remember
You need broader potential for sightlines if there's no one in the fucking sightline.
This one, holy shit. I remember that, watching that one live. So, sounds crazy, but Kephrii is making it harder on himself than he needs to with his Widowmaker play. I don't know
how it gets any harder on myself. I didn't do shit in Dorado. I killed the Widow and stared at a doorway for the Zen to do nothing, and I let water carry me. I didn't have to do anything. I literally just sat there. It couldn't have got any easier for me.
We're seeing McCree clips. Anyway, so I hope that kind of proves my point
you're
about
good and did good, you don't have to justify yourself against.
It just sucks. Like he couldn't see like my perspective. He couldn't see my context. He didn't know the language barrier at play. I was pushed up a lot more, I think, than he realized. Like I was holding a lot more aggression than he could see. You know, that's all.
S4 highlight, sure. Sure for Widowmaker montage.
And don't get me wrong, guys. I might be giving him like some shit, like a little bit of fun ribbing. Some of my personality that's coming out in this video, right? Because YouTube, you're gonna be the ones that see this in a few. You don't know, but some of my reactions are influenced by Twitch chat. You know, I am kind of playing with the entertaining aspect. Like chat's kind of poking fun at Jayne, so I'm poking fun at Jayne. All in all, though, like just real quick before we get to the end of this video, because I know it's like wrapping up. I do respect Jayne. The guy is actually really smart. He knows a lot. There is stuff that I'm taking away from this, and I have learned from it. Even if I am, like, explaining what I'm doing. Like I'm still learning a lot from this.
Surefour is a guy who will sometimes take those tiny angles, like Kephrii does.
It's because there's nothing wrong with tiny angles!
It'll be in this montage.
This is a default.
This is like a set strat. This doesn't really have anything to do with improvising positioning or like chaotic fights.
This is a default strat.
Sorry, bad English. I'm from Brazil.
Ah, yes.
What am I watching?
So much Widowmaker.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Dia should have killed him. Surefour shouldn't have landed that shot. I don't know what Dia was staring at. Yeah, that was a split. I know. I don't want to hear you talk about it. I know. I get it. You're good.
Or to make it like the dude went on a kill streak.
King of the
kind
hill.
of using the position that's anything other than his wins chronologically, which is that. Dia should be on the right of our screen, just off screen.
Is there any more analysis of me in here?
Exactly what I was talking. Positioning from sure. Yeah, montage. I want. I'm sure Kephrii has Widowmaker montage. What the fuck am I talking about?
Okay, yeah. So
there's one from a year ago, but I don't want to look at one from a year ago.
It would suck to look at something from a year ago that would be out of context to the current situation, like comparing me to Overwatch League pros that are playing in a meta that isn't goats or full dive and King of the Hill. But yeah, I agree.
I want to be fair.
Yeah, you want to be fair.
upload date. I don't want to see an Ashe montage. Come on. Let me see if Kephrii has any new videos on his.
Don't, man. I've been in Korea playing Contenders.
Okay. This is going to be a clip from like a year ago, and everybody sucked a year ago, but let's just look at it.
Says fair, but starts the clip by belittling all of my work. When he opens up the Overwatch League games that are old, he doesn't say, oh, but they sucked back then. I like how my performance instantly gets belittled and diminished and disrespected before it's even started.
A bit of Kephrii's play.
Thanks, Jayne. Gotta be fair. Oh look, aggressive positioning.
Is this Anna?
Oh look, aggressive positioning.
So even back then, really? Very sharp angles.
Sharp angles? It's blue box. You just fucking stroked what's his name's dick for playing blue box.
Holy fuck.
Then again, everyone on the other teams were also bad as well.
Is this better? Wow.
Do it to him.
Just whisper.
Aggressive.
This is a pretty good position here.
It is a fucking great position. Thank you.
Oh, you're dead.
Like, this would be not like dropping down into the stairwell here, but just like taking those windows or that high position. Oh, that's great stuff.
Okay. I'll take it.
We have an aim hacker immediately.
You know why I'm there? You know why I'm in that stairwell? Look what's covered on my left. I'm safe from my left, while still seeing all of the threats that I want to see. If I would go up, I'm exposed to the left. I can do the same job from right here. Sure, maybe no one is on the left, but I don't know that. It's fucking solo queue. This is the safest position to get the same job done.
Unlucky.
Look, aggressive positioning. Ironically, it's the exact clip of that other pro he was watching on 66. The exact same position. I'm in the same positions as these players. I digress.
This isn't really equivalent though. Like, this is...
Okay. Okay.
This isn't really equivalent though. Like, this is year ago solo queue. This isn't.
You're right. We should probably just cut all of the part where we just like left Dorado.
But anyway, I think even without seeing like an equivalent montage, because you'd have to have like videos of Kephrii in Overwatch League, I still think it's pretty good. So, you know, that's exactly why Kephrii is winning to contenders, right? Like, solo queue is different from pro play, and the play styles of most heroes are very, very different compared to how you need to play them in solo queue in order to be successful, compared to how you need to play them in pro play to be successful. You know, so there's some solo queuers who hit like 46, 4700, and they are not pros, they are not contenders, they're just like really good on the ladder because they have a very good mechanical skill set and like know how it fits within solo queue and know how to like abuse and constantly take those matchups. Like, if you're talking to Craggy was saying it the other day, he's kind of like, all I'm doing is abusing East Coast bots, and he's especially like Overwatch League supports for that uncommon for.
I'm seeing if this ever comes back to me.
Translate towards plans, ult tracking. Teammates don't know what they are. Pro play.
All right. Well, that's it. All right. So, that's my analysis of everything, chat. That's my analysis of Jayne's analysis.